Welcome back to Dreams of the Nameless. We need to have a discussion about Iran. We previously filmed a video where we talked about their approach of the maximum for their allotted enriched uranium, but new developments today mean we're not going to upload that video, and so we're going to do this one instead. So my main source here is the Washington Free Beacon, an article by Bill Gertz. U.S. expected to strike back for Iran downing one of our drones. So Trump is already saying Iran's made a big mistake and sort of saber rattling, promising that there's already something in the works in terms of retaliation. And when he was asked about it, he just said, "You'll see," which, this is the same guy with the secret fucking agreement that he's waving around and whatever. It's all a big dick show game for him. So the Iran downed a drone near the Strait of Hormuz, I assume. I don't know. The pronunciation is just going to be fucking stupid because I'm not anywhere near close to knowing anything about the language or the locations there. So I apologize
I was
for
avoiding
that.
those types of terms because I have no hope of getting correct pronunciation on those.
No. So the drone they shot down was an RQ-4 Global Hawk drone aircraft. I don't know why that's important, but nonetheless, every article seems to include it. So
some of the pictures of those drones, they're freaking huge, and I saw one source that said they're about $220 million each.
Oh,
yeah, they're like a full size plane. There's just not a pilot. They're like 15 feet tall. They have a wingspan of like 140 feet. So I mean, we're not talking like a little backyard drone. Like this is a full size plane, full of all kinds of sensor equipment and stuff. And so I assume that's why they keep pointing at what specifically was shot down, was to just
highlight
stab
the
at this
expense.
idea. Yeah.
All right. So here's a quote: Air Force Lieutenant General Joseph Gostella, commander of Central Command Air Forces, said the RQ-4 drone was conducting surveillance over the Gulf of Oman and the Strait of Hormuz in international airspace near recent IRGC attacks on two tankers. The drone was struck by an IRGC surface-to-air missile fired from a base near Gorak, Iran has said. Or Gorak, Iran, he said, rather. So basically the idea is that the attack on the way that the U.S. is framing this is that the attack on this drone is the most recent and extreme event or aggressive action taken by Iran in what they're calling a pattern of aggression. So, and Iran is of course claiming that the drone didn't enter their airspace. They're saying that it was Iran is claiming that it entered the airspace. We're saying that they're lying, and several earlier Iran-linked attacks. There were other things that they did. They attacked a pipeline, evidently, which we didn't actually ever cover. So I don't know when that occurred. And they're also saying that there was a rocket that was fired at near a U.S. embassy and an attack on a NATO convoy in Afghanistan. And so I don't know if they're going back years here and just listing everything that they've ever sort of tried to toss in Iran's direction, but nonetheless, they're bringing it up.
A couple of sources even said there were a couple of attacks on some other tankers further out in the Gulf there. So yeah. I don't know for sure. I couldn't find any solid news on that, but they're definitely trying to create a narrative here.
No, definitely. And Satan himself, John Bolton, says the national security strategy lists Iran as one of the 4 top threats, and we just need to be sure we've got the capacity or the capability to deter them from these kinds of activities, threatening American lives and facilities, threatening the international oil market. So, of course, this is mostly a financial issue. They're going to make the claim that it's because it disrupts the global market and that means that it affects consumers. But what's really happening is they're disrupting the oil trade, and so the capitalists are mad. And when the capitalists get mad, then the army gets involved, because then they can start blowing each other off and using all that fancy weaponry and equipment that they love to produce in excess. So the U.S. is like almost for sure going to go to war now. it may not be a full-scale invasion yet, but we're going to do something equally of equal magnitude to what our government conceives of their attack on that drone to be. So that might look like they might target specific Iranian forces, Iranian military bases, or they might just straight out attack the Iranian defense missile batteries that they say are the ones that shot down the drone. And I do the quotes because, as always, I just assume that the U.S. military is just shoving bullshit into my mouth anytime they say anything about why would Iran fucking attack a drone like this. It doesn't make any sense. It makes way more sense for the U.S. to be playing the "I'm not touching you" game, and then pushing the limit, and when finally this little tiny country retaliates even a little tiny bit, now we're gonna try and come in and smash them down. That's what empires do. So the one thing that is weird is that the Iranian media, I guess, played like a fake video of a drone being destroyed, which I guess actually took place in Yemen or something. And so that I don't think is a good look for Iran. I don't know if they should also be trying to drum up the war sentiment in their own people, or is it like a boasting thing? Like, look, we killed one of the Americans' drones. And then the official IRNA news agency said the drone was shot down near the Mubarak mountain region in Hormuzgan. Again, apologies for the pronunciation, and that's a province in the southern part of the country. So, I mean, that's all we know right now. I'm sure this is going to be a developing story that we're going to cover again and again as the U.S. marches inevitably towards more violence. But do you have anything you want to throw in here? I just wanted to make our few viewers aware of this if they're not already aware. So expect violence in the coming days.
Definitely, I think I think if we look at the bigger picture as much as we're able. It started, years and years ago, but Trump was saying, this is the worst deal ever. This is the worst deal ever. So he ends the nuclear deal and says, oh, this is going to be great for America. This pisses off Iran. It hurts their economy. And so the claim is they're doing these attacks because it's retaliation for that. And then the next step is, oh, these tankers, this, that, there's this whole progression we've sort of hinted at. And I suspect what's really going on is today Trump said, oh, they've made a big mistake. They've made a big mistake. A couple hours later, he walks it back and says, no, what I meant was that I think they shot it down by mistake because we don't want to go to war. Nobody's wanting to go to war. We don't want that, yada, yada. And he's walking that statement back. And I think what they're doing is, if we look at the facts, they moved 1,000 more troops into the area.
Yep. And
they've increased surveillance. And so what's happening is, before, we weren't really playing a game with them. Now there's their border and we're right here and we're just kind of rubbing on their border and we're rubbing. And I think they're just waiting until, I have no doubt in my mind that drone was probably completely in Iranian airspace by a wide margin on purpose. And that it was designed to be shot down so that Trump could deny and say, oh yeah, we don't want to go to war and yada, yada. But you don't send armed troops to an area to create peace. That's not how peace works. That's not how you make peace, is with armed soldiers. I think definitely. They're sent there specifically to create friction, to engineer a situation in which American soldiers will get attacked or will die in some fashion. They may even force it and then lie about it, so that we will have no choice but to go to war. And then Trump will have the ability to fall back and say, hey, I didn't want to go to war, so that he doesn't look like the bad guy, even though he engineered it from the beginning by pulling out of the nuclear arms deal. He knew this was not going to be a move that Iran would appreciate. And we knew from the moment he did that there would have to be some sort of give and take in this process. And I think maybe it's way more engineered for war than we previously thought. So I right now, is it going to happen today? No, but unfortunately, I think we're on the warpath. I think it's being pushed for, it's being designed for, and it seems inevitable. I wish we could fight it. I wish there was more we could do.
Yeah, I agree with you that it seems inevitable that we're going to end up in conflict. I don't know if I'm willing to go as far as you in sort of sketching out that conspiracy. What I will say is that I was more leaning in your direction until I read the part where they're airing what is effectively like false footage just to rile up their own people. Now, somebody correct me in the comments section if there's a reason for them to have done that makes some kind of sense, because to me it just seems like what we might be dealing with is Iran doing things that are probably not in its best interest, and then our country doing what it always does and reacting like a gigantic idiot, a gigantic oversized, overpowered idiot. And unfortunately that typically doesn't bode well, because when the gigantic idiot baby America starts trampling over other countries, it typically doesn't leave. So we'll see what happens in the coming days. Leave a comment down below and hit the like button, hit the bell for notifications, all that good stuff.